Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rekakadash. Today, I'm going to look at this fig tree because something about this fig tree is surrounding the judgment of the ruling kingdom. Now, when you go to Isaiah chapter 34, it brings out the two things, the fig tree, and it brings out the judgment upon Idumea or Edom. Now it says here in verse 3, this is going to be perfect. Verse 3, it says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Ooh, that's power. He say the mountains shall be melted with their blood. Now he goes into the fig tree. He's saying all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Then in verse 5 he say, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea or Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Now when you look at the wording in that, it says the mountains, or their mountains, because you're talking about a specific people, their mountains shall be melted with their blood. And it says it's going to be the host of heaven shall be dissolved. And it says and as the leaf falleth from off the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree, all their hosts shall fall down. So he's pretty much saying their mountains, their kingdoms shall be melted with blood. Now let's go into another precept about the fig tree, because he told his disciples something that people love to talk about in Matthew 21 and verse 19. He say, and when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on you henceforward. And presently the fig tree withered away. 20. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how soon is the fig tree withered away? So why was they putting a timing on this fig tree? You see, because they obviously understood the parable. And then the next verse he say, in verse 21, is Matthew 21:21. Yahweh shall answered and said unto them, verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, you shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if ye shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. What was that mountain or that kingdom that was ruling? The kingdom of the Edomites. See, wasn't no such thing as the Romans. That's what the Edomites was calling themselves, Romans. That didn't exist. That's a that's a part of their imagination. Talking about they Romans because they come from Rome. No, you Edomites because you come from Esau. But that was the mountain of the kingdom that was ruling that area. Now let's go to Revelation, because Revelation gives you the same thing and Revelation talking about the same people. Revelation chapter 6. Let's see here, chapter 6. It says in verse 12. Now in verse 4 it tells you that there went out a horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat on it to take peace from the earth, and to kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Now that's the nation of Edom. Edom means red. You see? Then the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. Power was given to them, and they killed one another with this great sword, the guns and the tanks, the airplane, the rockets, the bombs. Now when you get to verse 12, it lets you know what's going on. Verse 12 is saying, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. See, that's that judgment of the nation of Edom. He said, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. You see? 13, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casts off her timely figs, when she is taken of a mighty wind. Same verse. 14, and the heaven disparted as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. So this is letting you know clearly, this is talking about Isaiah 34, what you had 5 and verse 4 talked about this exact thing. Verse 3 and 4 talked about this exact thing, that they was going to cast off their timely figs, and their mountains was going to be with blood. That's why they say the moon became as blood. And then it lets you know who they talking about in verse 15 of Revelation 6. It say the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the mighty men. That's who this thing is talking about. And who are the rich men, the mighty men? They are the Edomites, the so-called white men who's ruling. See, who are the kings? Because there ain't no kings on the earth coming from them 12 tribes. Them 12 tribes is servants and handmaids, and they serving their enemies, this nation of Edom. Now when you talking about the fig, with the disciples, they asked them, they said, well, when is this thing, when is you going, how soon? Let's read that one more time. Matthew, let's go right back to Matthew 21. Because in the next 2 chapters, they're going to ask him again what's going on. And Matthew 21:20, it said, when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, how soon is the fig tree withered away? Because they kind of had a feel of Isaiah's writing. They wasn't just totally ignorant to the prophecies that their forefathers had written down. And so when they asked him, how soon is the fig tree withered away? That's exactly what they asked him in Matthew 24, verse 3. It says, hold on. It says, verse 3, as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? See, they want to know what's going to be the end of this kingdom that was ruling. That's what they was talking about. They weren't talking about the earth is finna be destroyed and mankind finna be destroyed. No, they talking about what's going to be the end of this ruling nation of Edomites that's calling themselves Romans. That's what they was asking. And so when you go in here, it talks about it talks about a fig tree again. So this is in Matthew 24 and 32. It says, now learn a parable of the fig tree. See, this is the kingdom. Let me get this to set the precedence. In Judges, it set the understanding, it laid the foundation of the fig tree. Judges chapter 9 laid out the foundation of the fig tree. And I'm going to just get straight to the point on this one because there's a lot in there. People got to go and do their own research on this Judges 9. But I'm going to get straight to the point of why this fig tree is got to be understood. Judges 9 and verse 10. No, let's do Judges 9 and verse 8. It say the trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, reign over us. So they was asking the olive tree to be representative as a king. So in verse 10 he say, and the trees said unto the fig tree, come thou and reign over us. So they was asking this fig tree to be king or a kingdom over them. So the fig tree and trees represent kingdoms and nations, because nations rule. So when you get to Matthew 24, verse 32, it says, now learn a parable of the fig tree, which his branches is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So he letting you know, when you're looking at the fig tree, this kingdom, and when he's putting forth leaves, that's why when you go into 21, they said, how soon is he gonna wither away? How soon is this kingdom, this fig tree, how soon is this kingdom is gonna wither away? So when you go into 33, right after he said that, in Matthew 24, 33, he says, so likewise, you, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even to the doors. So you can add that with all these kingdoms arising against kingdom, earthquakes, rumors of wars. You got the uproars of the people in Second Ezra 9, I'm thinking. And so this goes back to Second Ezra 2. Let's get Second Ezra, because it's something about with this fig tree situation. And I got another precept to go with that. But let me get to Second Ezra first. Hey now. Second Ezra chapter 6. Because he told them, they asking them, when is this thing gonna be close? So here we go. Second Ezra, we're gonna get right to it in verse 22. They asking the same thing. When is let me jump up to verse 20. He's saying and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall all see together. Okay? And verse 22, this is 2 Ezra 6 and 22. It says, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. So that's when once the tree, this fig tree, is withering away. You see, these plants and these trees ain't producing fruit. Because that's how he cursed the fig tree and said, you won't produce fruit. But he said the mountain, if the disciples have faith, they're going to be able to do the kingdom the same way. The ruling kingdom of these Edomites, they're going to be able to do it the same way. Now, he said the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So when the storehouses is found empty, That's when you gonna know. Verse 23 is saying, the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man hear it, they shall be suddenly afraid. So that's how you know when the end is gonna be. And he was talking about that fig tree pretty much not producing figs. Even when it was being a parable for the nuclear bombs falling like figs, that's the fruit falling away from the tree. The tree dying pretty much because the fruit is falling away and it's withering away. Now let's go back to Isaiah 24. Isaiah 34. Because Revelations, let it be known, that's talking about nuclear weapons. Isaiah 34. Revelation say that's when a great earthquake was going to come. So verse 5, when he said 34, verse 5, in Isaiah 34, verse 5, he say, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. So what is that sword? That sword is the nuclear missiles that's coming down. My sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. So that sword was those figs and that great earthquake. The great earthquake was the nuclear missiles falling like fig trees. That's why it said it shall come down upon Idumea. And it would be bathed in heaven. It would come from, bathed in the kingdom. Because heaven represents the kingdom. So he's going to destroy the kingdom of these Edomites with this sword of nuclear weapons. That's what he's meaning in Isaiah 34. Now he got the same thing going on in verse 6 in chapter 63 of Isaiah. Chapter 63 of Isaiah, it says, verse 1, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garment from Bozrah? That is this that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Verse 2, wherefore art thou red in your apparel, and your garments like him that tread in the wine fat? 3, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. You see? Verse 4, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeem is come. So that's what Yahushua was talking about. He was telling his disciples about this fig tree. He was talking about the nation of Edom. See? Because in 63 he tells you again that he's coming to Edom. Now when you go to let's see here, let's go back to Revelation. Where we at? 19. When you go to Revelation, let's see, Revelation 6. Revelation 6. Revelation 6. Let's read verse 8, because he's still talking about the nation of Edom. It says, this is Revelation 6 and verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And how do these Edomites look? They look pale. and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with the sword and with hunger. See, that's them trees not producing fruit, causing a famine, and with death, and with beasts of the earth. Okay, so I'm gonna match up that Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63 say his clothes is gonna be like somebody in the wine press with blood all over his garments. This is that in the New Testament. Since they want to say that's the Old Testament, and it's not gonna happen pretty much. Revelation 19, and let's just get right to the point. Revelation 19 and 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. You see? So even in this, it tells you about his clothes being dipped in blood. Jump down to verse 15. And out of his mouth goes forth a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nation, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of Almighty God. There go the winepress. So you got the second coming of Yahushua in the scriptures, and Revelations is matching up with these things. The prophets was pointing to something, and Apostle John brought it out in his book. You see? And so the Bible, the New Testament and the Old Testament match up with each other perfectly. I'm talking about they quoting major verses in the New Testament that came from the Old Testament. And so let's get this nuclear missiles verse to sum it up. That this is how he's coming for our Dumia with these nuclear missiles. Let's see here. Isaiah. Back to Isaiah. Back to Isaiah. Isaiah 54. 16, it say, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. 17, no weapon. So he let you know what he talking about. No weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. So he describing that he created the person that's going to make the weapon. And so he created the weapon to destroy. But the weapon ain't going to be able to touch the ones that keep the faith of Yahushua and keep his commandment. See? So that's what he's talking about with these situation. And so the nuclear missiles is in the Bible. That's what you got on here. World War III gonna spark off first, and then you're gonna have the nuclear missiles drop like fig trees, like a scroll rolled up into heaven. That's why he said his sword would be bathed in heaven. Another verse on that, on these nuclear missiles. Let's see here. Revelation Revelation 16. Where we at? Revelation 16, 14. Let's see here. Revelation. 16. Revelation 16, verse 19. It's letting you know where it's gonna come, where these nuclear missiles coming. And it gives us some more detail. Let's see here, and it explains